Beginning of 2020 became a turning point in the evolution of corporate governance. As offices shut down and kitchen tables turned into desks, leadership was permanently reshaped. The classic instruments of authority, firm handshakes, commanding eye contact, spontaneous discussions at the whiteboard, lost their influence overnight. Screens emerged as the new arena of power, with pixels standing in for physical presence. Seasoned executives often felt like beginners in this digital environment. Charisma refined through years of in-person interaction did not always survive the transition online. Leaders who relied on physical proximity to direct their teams suddenly found that control slipping through invisible digital barriers. From the collapse of old models, a new framework took shape: digital leadership, demanding new traits and methods. Success belonged not to the loudest voices, but to the most attentive listeners. Not to those who enforced tighter control, but to those who built stronger trust. Virtual teams, once a niche, have surged dramatically in recent years. Picture a world map where glowing points are linked by unseen digital threads. Each point represents a professional working from their own location, yet functioning as part of a single system. Distance, once viewed as a limitation, is now becoming a strategic advantage. Organizations can tap global talent without regard to geography, assembling ideal teams across borders and continents. A CFO in Singapore, a designer in Barcelona, and a developer in Kyiv can collaborate on the same project simultaneously. The financial benefits are equally clear. Lower expenses for office space, travel, and infrastructure free up resources for growth and innovation. Yet the greatest strength of virtual teams lies in their unmatched flexibility. They adapt rapidly to market shifts, expand or contract with project demands, and operate around the clock. This adaptability, however, calls for a distinct management approach. Virtual leaders need a specific skill set to sustain attention and engagement among people they may never meet face-to-face. Clear communication structures, digital rituals that foster shared identity, and a careful balance between oversight and trust become essential. In virtual environments, the human brain encounters a paradox. We engage with real people while losing access to nearly 88% of the cues shaped by thousands of years of evolution. The absence of physical presence creates a psychological landscape where familiar social rules no longer apply. Online, we can no longer read micro-expressions, body language, or subtle shifts in tone. This sensory gap leads to what psychologists describe as digital isolation. It is a sense of emotional distance that persists despite constant contact. Members of virtual teams often feel unseen, their efforts undervalued, and their bonds with colleagues shallow. Research indicates that empathy in online interactions is about 28% lower than in face-to-face communication. Virtual leaders must now offset this emotional deficit by building new channels of connection. They learn to interpret digital signals of team well-being, response latency, chat dynamics, and the tone of written messages. Effective leaders intentionally design moments of presence, periods of full focus during video calls where every participant feels acknowledged. They introduce digital rituals to replace physical contact, virtual coffee breaks, online games, shared challenges. In this environment, trust is no longer intuitive. It is earned through consistency and transparency. Picture a virtual meeting. You've just completed a critical presentation, and the room falls silent. In a physical conference space, you would read nods, smiles, frowns, countless nonverbal cues revealing the audience's response. On screen, there are only static tiles with names and cameras switched off. This digital silence is one of many obstacles virtual leaders confront daily. Communication barriers online are layered and deceptive. Technical failures fracture important meetings, with key messages swallowed by lag, echoes, and distortion. Time zone gaps force some participants to work late into the night, while others log in at dawn, creating uneven conditions for focus and performance. Yet the greatest loss for virtual teams is the disappearance of spontaneous interaction. The 5 minutes by the coffee machine where unexpected ideas emerge. The casual exchange in the hallway after a meeting. The momentum of live brainstorming when thoughts build on each other in real time. These moments, once quietly binding teams and driving innovation, dissolve in digital space. Cultural differences, softened in face-to-face settings by context and body language, become persistent sources of misunderstanding online. What one person sees as efficiency, another perceives as rudeness. Silence may signal agreement, contemplation, or total confusion. The virtual leader must act as a detective, decoding these digital hieroglyphs. In a world where presence is reduced to pixels, trust becomes both the most fragile and the most valuable currency. Traditionally, it grew from handshakes, shared meals, and informal hallway conversations. Moments when we experience the whole person, not just a digital outline. Online, this organic chemistry of trust must be deliberately rebuilt, demanding fundamentally new leadership skills. Digital trust forms more slowly, but it can run deeper. As physical symbols of status and charisma recede, authenticity takes center stage. Strong virtual leaders transform screen limitations into advantages by communicating with greater intention. They make room for vulnerability, speak openly about challenges, admit mistakes, and share personal stories. It is this readiness to be authentic online that forms the foundation for deep professional connections. In virtual settings, microsignals carry immense weight. The tone in a voice message, choice of emojis in chat, punctuality in meetings, response times to emails. These small cues combine into a mosaic of digital trust. Skilled virtual leaders learn to read and intentionally leverage them to strengthen team bonds. Unlike face-to-face trust, which often feels instinctive, virtual trust is deliberate and visible. Actions, commitments, and their fulfillment become the measure of reliability. When built on consistency and transparency, this trust can surpass traditional forms. Digital communication has introduced a new layer of emotional intelligence, digital empathy. Leaders must now interpret emotions through a screen deprived of most nonverbal signals. Team mood is revealed in subtle digital markers, typing speed, email delays, micro-expressions on video calls. Experienced virtual managers detect early burnout before it is obvious. Fewer emojis, monotone voices, waning participation in discussions. They create structured avenues for emotional expression, virtual check-ins, anonymous morale surveys, and digital spaces for spontaneous thoughts. Active digital listening, being fully present without distraction from other screens, is essential. Leaders with strong digital empathy tailor their approach. Introverts get channels for written expression. Extroverts gain extra video interactions. Time zones, cultural norms, and home environments are taken into account. This conscious practice binds virtual teams, turning scattered specialists into cohesive units capable of overcoming digital challenges. In this world, power assumes new forms. Traditional status symbols, the corner office, tailored suit, commanding posture, lose relevance when interaction occurs through screens. Influence is being redefined, forcing leaders to reconsider the basis of authority. Respect is earned not by volume or presence, but by expertise. Teams may not see you enter a room, but they clearly perceive the value of your ideas and the clarity of your communication. A digital leader is, first and foremost, a master of meaning, able to distill complex ideas into clear, understandable terms. Paradoxically, virtual environments make leadership more meritocratic. In a constant stream of calls and messages, authority must be earned with every action. One poor call, one weak presentation, and influence can waver. Technical glitches shift from minor annoyances to real threats to credibility. Successful digital leaders cultivate a crucial quality: virtual presence, the ability to fill the digital space with energy and create a sense of closeness across a screen. They leverage every channel of influence: the tone of voice in messages, the design of presentations, even the choice of video call background. The modern digital leader is a hybrid, part traditional manager, part technological visionary. Their skill set blends classic leadership traits with digital literacy and tech intuition. In a world where teams operate in cloud services rather than office buildings, success depends on navigating multiple platforms, from video conferencing to messaging apps and project management tools. Effective leaders act like multimedia directors, crafting engaging content for their audience. They keep teams focused amid information overload and constant distractions. Adaptability is essential. Digital tools evolve rapidly, and leaders must continually learn new technologies. Yet they also require strategic vision, discerning which innovations truly enhance performance and which generate only noise. Experimentation with interaction formats, virtual quests, digital retreats, asynchronous brainstorming is highly valuable. At the same time, they preserve their humanity, avoiding the trap of becoming a soulless management algorithm. This balance of technological efficiency and human warmth defines the indispensable digital leader. Technology ceases to be merely a tool. It becomes an extension of the leader, like a violin in the hands of a musician, amplifying influence, presence, and effectiveness. A skilled virtual leader doesn't just use tools, they build an ecosystem where each element reinforces their vision. Choosing a technology strategy is as critical as choosing a team. Video platforms, project management systems, messaging apps, all shape the digital environment. Experienced leaders select tools not only for function, but for the culture they foster. Some encourage hierarchy and control. Others promote collaboration and transparency. Astute leaders intentionally shape a technological landscape that reflects their values. The most effective virtual leaders do not become servants to technology. They actively guide it. They manage notifications to protect work-life balance, create digital rituals that foster team spirit, and turn monitoring systems from instruments of control into tools for support and growth. In their hands, technology becomes a living network of interaction, infused with meaning and human values. Corporate culture is an invisible force binding people through shared goals and principles. In traditional offices, it emerges naturally, in hallway jokes, workspace aesthetics, and unspoken social rules. But when the physical space disappears and teams exist entirely online, leaders face the challenge of making the intangible tangible. They translate abstract values into concrete digital practices that team members experience daily. Achieving this demands creativity and a deep grasp of virtual psychology. Successful digital cultures start with reimagined rituals. Morning check-ins evolve beyond task updates into moments that reinforce human connection. Virtual celebrations, online recognition ceremonies, and digital honor boards foster a sense of belonging to something larger than a scattered group of remote workers. Informal communication norms become critical: which emojis are appropriate, expected response times, or the acceptability of late-night messages. These unwritten rules form the team's cultural code. Wise virtual leaders treat every digital interaction as a chance to strengthen identity. They act as guardians and transmitters of culture, reinforcing values not through abstract declarations, but by celebrating successes, recognizing aligned behavior, and modeling it personally. Becoming an effective virtual leader is a continuous journey requiring discipline and reflection. Begin with honest self-assessment. Evaluate your communication style, tech skills, and digital emotional intelligence. Develop a personal growth plan targeting specific areas, whether leading engaging online meetings or cultivating digital empathy. Seek regular feedback via anonymous surveys or one-on-one conversations to gauge how your leadership is perceived. Experiment with different formats: asynchronous discussions, short daily calls, written reports, to find the optimal rhythm for your team. Build your digital leadership brand by refining online presentation skills, writing style, and visual design. Strengthen crisis management abilities to mobilize teams quickly, coordinate actions efficiently, and maintain morale under uncertainty. Continuously invest in learning new technologies and platforms to expand your virtual presence and amplify influence. And always remember the need for balance. Establish digital boundaries to protect personal time and prevent burnout for yourself and your team. We stand at the threshold of a new era in leadership. Virtual management is not a temporary response to a crisis. It marks a fundamental shift in the leadership paradigm. Just as the Industrial Revolution redefined 19th century hierarchies, the digital age is reshaping influence and power. Hybrid models blending physical and virtual presence are becoming standard rather than exceptional across organizations worldwide. Tomorrow's leaders must seamlessly navigate between management modes, from in-person meetings rich with personal connection to virtual spaces where influence relies on entirely different dynamics. This ability to shift contexts is emerging as a critical meta-competence for modern leadership. Technology will continue to accelerate the evolution of human interaction. Artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and immersive environments will open new arenas for demonstrating leadership. Success will belong to those who preserve the human core of leadership, using technology not as a replacement, but as an amplifier of influence. In this future, the most valuable resource will not be information or even attention, but the capacity to forge meaningful connections across distance. Leaders who can inspire, guide, and unite teams through digital barriers will define the organizations of the 21st century.